I'm Dylan Ratigan. I've interviewed nearly every CEO and most world leaders during the past 25 years. And now on Bootstrapping, I'm turning my attention to the new CEOs and the irrepressible entrepreneurs leading the next generation of innovation in the world.
Innovation is risk. It's hard to make the impossible possible. But that's what we do. Together, Aptera will change the way the world views mobility. Let's make a stand to focus on efficiency first, on solar power, because one day, transportation will be free of gasoline, free of charging. A cordless vehicle to take you anywhere you need to go. Aptera is developing that future. We are that future. It's time to accelerate Aptera.
Welcome back to tastylive. I am Dylan Ratigan. Time for some bootstrapping. Chris Anthony, our guest, the company Aptera. It is literally a solar car. Chris is a co-founder and the co-CEO. We've been waiting for the solar car for a long time. How soon will you have your solar? How soon is this solar car readily available, Chris?
We're looking to deliver our first units next year.
And how many do you think you can deliver?
We actually have orders for over 46,000 Aptera now. Obviously, when we start production, it'll be a slow start, ramping to about 20,000 vehicles a year, hopefully within 18 months after we start production.
We're going to put the video of the car up here. The interesting thing about your engineering of the solar car is that you really focused on drag. You know, people, as opposed to trying to make a better solar cell, although I'm sure you have much better solar cells than you had 10 years ago, or trying to make a better battery, that you really focused on drag and efficiency, the actual weight and efficiency and structure. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, we think it's a shame that the EV industry is moving to bigger, heavier SUVs, pickup trucks, luxury sedans. And EVs in general today, I mean, they're really just, an evolution from the gasoline vehicles we were driving 20 years ago. They look the same, they're the same platform, and they use a lot of energy. People don't realize that at highway speeds, you can use about 60% of your energy just pushing air out of the way in a typical SUV or sedan. So if you want something that gets really good fuel economy, you got to start with aerodynamics. Then the next biggest loss is weight, and the next biggest loss is the efficiency of your powertrain. So if you put all those together and you design something that looks more like a fish than a typical box car, which is what the Aptera is, you get something that's about 350 miles per gallon equivalent, and something that goes 4 times as far as the average EV on a given unit of energy. So we're in a much different place in the industry.
What material did you use to make this sort of pie? You look at it, you describe it as a fish. It's like some sort of a rolling space pod, although sometimes it looks like a car. It depends on which way you look at it. It depends on which angle. But what's it made of?
Mostly carbon fiber SMC, sheet molding compound. So very lightweight composites. They use it in a lot of supercars. We're working with a great group called CPC in Modena, Italy. They make parts for all the big supercar brands. Now we're bringing that technology to automotive to get the utmost in safety and lightweightness and stiffness out of our body structures.
And how does that perform from a safety perspective to have such a thin sort of mono hull?
It's actually a monocoque, much like a Formula One car or a Cirrus aircraft. So for frontal impact, we've got a big crumple zone, side impact protection. And when we last tested the body structure, it actually had the highest roof crush strength of any passenger car on the road. So, with these types of materials, you can have drastically better safety than with steel or aluminum. And that's what we've done with the Aptera.
And how many passengers?
2 passengers side by side.
Luggage?
A lot of luggage in the back. It's got 25 cubic feet of storage in the back. So you can put a couple mountain bikes, kayaks, surfboards, and you can actually camp in the back of the Aptera. It's almost a full-size bed in the back. So you lift up the rear hatch, you put a tent over it, and you can camp 2 people side by side, a dog in the middle, get the solar power while you're out adventuring, and everybody's happy.
It sounds like it might be fabulously expensive to purchase such a space age vehicle. And yet I looked online and it looks like the entry price is around 34 grand, 33 grand, some number like that. Is that correct?
Yeah, the first
Small
vehicles
battery.
that we'll be delivering is called the Launch Edition. It's a 400-mile range Aptera with full solar and all-wheel drive, and that vehicle is just under $34,000. Our base vehicle is $26,000, and the way we're able to offer such a compelling vehicle for so little cost is that the battery pack is the most expensive component of an electric vehicle. We use a quarter of the energy per mile as a typical electric vehicle, so we have a battery pack that's a quarter of the size and a quarter of the cost. Instead of going 250 miles of range with a $25,000 battery pack, we do the same thing with like a $6,000 battery pack. So you roll that into the bill of materials, and we can sell something that's really cost efficient, something that gets you 1,000 miles range with the biggest battery pack, and something that with our solar charging can get you 40 free miles a day just from the power of the sun. And if you have a gasoline vehicle and you're spending $7,000 a year on gasoline, to buy an Aptera that costs 26 grand and save $7,000 a year on fuel costs because you're getting 40 miles a day free from the sun, it's a pretty compelling value proposition.
How does it perform in the snow?
Yeah, we have torque vectoring for snow and ice stability. It's typical electronic stability control. We have a lot of customers in Norway and Sweden and up north in the US. So we want it to be very capable on snow and ice.
So you feel confident that it's a winter vehicle?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, you're not going to trog through 8 inches of snow in it. It's not that kind of mountaineering vehicle. But yeah, if there's a couple inches of snow on the ground, or if it's icy, yeah, the Aptera is a fine vehicle to be driving around.
And you have good heat. The cockpit of that car is like, what's the cockpit?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like a thermos because it's made out of an insulative material. So, the steel and aluminum vehicles radiate a lot of heat, but we're able to hold that heat. So we have a very small air conditioner and a very small heater, but it feels very capable in the vehicle. So heat, air conditioning, infotainment, airbag, safety belts, kind of all of the standard systems you would find in today's electric vehicles.
What are you raising money for on Republic?
We are entering our production phase now. So we've gone through all of our development phases, and now we're building our first production intent vehicles. And we're buying the tooling and equipment to start production next year. So hopefully by next summer, the production line here in San Diego is humming. We're receiving body parts from Italy, and we're delivering vehicles to customers.
Do you have any sense of any competitors? Is there an incumbent, a GM, or even a Tesla who's doing something like this, or another startup like yourself?
Yeah, we kind of started the company with a relationship with Sandy Monroe and Monroe and Associates out of Detroit. They're lean manufacturing experts. They help a lot of big companies just build more manufacturable products and lean out their manufacturing lines, including Tesla and SpaceX. And we feel, because of that, we're kind of ahead in some ways. Tesla is striving to limit the amount of body parts they have in their body structures. They're paying billions of dollars for these gigapresses. Our body consists of only 6 parts. They're all human positionable. They're easy to assemble, and they give us a very well-toleranced vehicle. But being ahead in some of the manufacturability doesn't change the fact that we're a very unique vehicle platform. Outboard wheels, aerodynamic, solar powered. We can't imagine GM or Ford or anybody like that, any old school engineering adopting, such a unique vehicle platform, because it's nothing like anything else they have, in their lineup. The three-wheelers don't exist in Detroit.
Yeah. And so then if you were to look away from all the logic, all the technical, all the performance, everything, and to come back to, what on some level I think is a fundamental truth for cars, at least for a substantial part of the car market, which is emotion. Why do people want big cars? Because they want to feel protected, or they want to feel powerful, or they want to have visibility, like the SUV boom. Or why do people like Porsches or Ferraris or McLaren or Pagani, or a never-ending list of sort of design vehicles? It's an emotional experience, right? Or why people are like, oh, I don't like that car. It's a whatever the reason is. It's got a bubble face, it's got bubble eyes, or it's got a funny tail light, like the emotional relationship. And you've chosen a very unique car design. So you have a very unique appearance.
Yeah, Dr. Rapai is a consultant to our program, and he wrote the book on literally, identifying with brands because of how they represent your avatar. I don't know if you remember Jeep brought out a new Wrangler with square headlights, and people just hated it. In the
Or the
90s.
PT Cruiser had a PT Cruiser had a moment where it had a really strong reaction, sold like
Yeah.
crazy because people liked the sort of slant nose, shark face, sort of 1930s mafia throwback vibe. But then also people hated it.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at yours. I'm like, for sure, there's a group of people that are going to love this, right? Because it's like, whoa, like it's
People
crazy
identify with
emotions.
Yeah, people identify with vehicles very strongly as their avatars, and for Aptera, it's really the freedom seekers. Because we have 46,000 orders now, we have great data on why people attach themselves to our brand, and the freedom of solar mobility, not being having to attach yourself to the grid for electricity or the gas pump for gasoline. Your vehicle's providing its own fuel. You can, when the zombies attack, you want an Aptera because the fuel stations are down. So I think we're really, a whole freedom brand that just hasn't existed. A vehicle that creates its own fuel is a whole new thing. So, we have, pilots and engineers that like the tech angle. We have environmentalists that like the Aptera because it's the best thing for the environment. We have cost cutters that just like the fuel savings. But most people, that have ordered an Aptera like it because it's so unique and provides this kind of freedom angle. And we think that it's really good for brand building. And that's why we have over 1 million social media followers now, and
Sure.
100,000 people on a newsletter list, and 46,000 orders, and 16,000 investors in the most.
And what's the valuation on the stock right now?
Yeah, we've had the most successful crowdfunding in history. We've taken investments for over 16,000 investors, and the current valuation is about 805 million pre-money.
Do you think it works as like a suburban grocery runner?
It's a commuter vehicle, it's a grocery runner, it's an adventure vehicle. It's kind of all of those things wrapped in one. You'd be surprised at the statistics of how many people drive with only 1 or 2 passengers in the vehicle. So for a lot of family use, you have the Cybertruck in the garage, you can tow the truck, you can take the kids to soccer practice, but you also have the Aptera because one of you commutes, more than 30 miles a day, and this is the perfect vehicle for you. So, but also, to go out on date night, to go to the grocery store, to go to Costco, this is a perfect vehicle for it. Save energy. You don't need to be wasting energy in a big SUV to go run simple tasks.
I know it's a three-wheeler, which does that mean it when it goes through motor vehicles, does it do so as a motorcycle or a motorcycle type vehicle, or does it go through as a traditional 2-axle 4-tire motor vehicle?
Yeah, we're technically a motorcycle or an autocycle in the U.S., but a quirk of post-World War II was there was a lot of motorcycles that came back as surplus. If you put a sidecar on your motorcycle, they thought, oh, 3 wheels, it's safe. You don't need a motorcycle's license. So if you have 3 wheels in the U.S., you don't need a motorcycle's license. And if you put a roll hoop on that sidecar on your motorcycle, then they're like, oh, you don't need to wear a helmet because you got this roll bar on it. So if you have a structure over your head in a 3-wheeler, you don't need a motorcycle's license and you don't need to wear a helmet, but you get to buy motorcycle insurance, and we get to use the really small motorcycle plate that only has to be on the rear of the Aptera. So there's a lot of advantages to being a motorcycle for the kind of efficiency that we want and the kind of savings that we want to give people.
Is the insurance cheaper?
It is about half of what automobile insurance is. So
Trying to find the problem with your plan.
well, I think there's a
You have to
reason
find
why
it.
so many
It's
people,
very, very compelling. Sorry, go ahead, Chris.
I think there's a reason why people have been drawn to our plan.
Clearly.
Yeah. We're trying to make the world a better place through first principles engineering, and we think we've got, the line on the most efficient transportation possible. It's an evergreen vehicle in that once the math and science is done on the body shape, that is the most efficient vehicle. So in 10, 20 years, we're going to be building the same exact Aptera, maybe with some more features, maybe with better solar cells or a bigger battery pack, but
or even maybe a different material, maybe a lighter, stronger material yet.
Yeah, we've used AI generative design to take metal weight out of our vehicle. So we still have metal suspension and a metal frame that holds a battery and stuff. But generative AI has been really good at telling us how to strip almost 60% of the metal weight out of the vehicle. So who knows what the future holds for AI intelligence and how we can further limit the weight and maybe take some structure out of the body, but still have just as strong a body, but a lighter weight body. So it's an exciting time to be in tech and design for sure.
Totally. Chris, it's a pleasure to make the acquaintance. Congratulations. Again, you can check Aptera out on the Republic platform. Most successful crowdfunding in history for the world's first solar car coming to the market next year. Aptera, the company, bootstrapping the segment. I'm Dylan Ratigan. You're watching Tasty Live. We are back with more after this.